What it is, YouTube? It's your girl Potty Mouth Goddess PMG. What it is, Potty Mouth Squad PMS. How y'all doing today? I want you to know if you don't already. I want you to know if you don't already know you are beautiful, kind, smart, intelligent, and just fine shit. Okay, you fine. You fine. And anybody who comes in contact with you, they need to ask themselves.
How lucky can one guy be?
Alright, like I said, we taking a break from the 2K videos, though I will have a 2K video uploaded by tonight. Oh, middle of the night. I will, because I see there's more info that just came out, but I'm gonna wait till I get off work to drop that video. Anyways, we have this video called the Spongebob episode No One Understands. I love Spongebob. It was one of my favorite shows growing up as a kid. Still to this day, probably one of my favorite cartoons. I don't watch any of the newer episodes, but the older Spongebob, probably from like, because I think it started in 1999. Anywhere from 1999, I really say to like 2010. Anything after 2010, it probably started to get a little whack. But yeah, 1999 to 2010, SpongeBob, golden. All right. Without further ado, let's get right to the video. Yeah, I got 11 minutes into. It's only a 17-minute video. I got 11 minutes in, and I forgot to hit the unpause button on my recording. I'm really debating if I just want to sum it up for y'all, and no, but I'm a skip to right to the shit. I think it's here.
129, the episode that confused everyone when it first came out. An episode so surreal, so glitched, so out of place.
Well, let me just say what I said in the intro and stuff, but basically I was letting y'all know my 4 favorite episodes of SpongeBob was Hatchling and Slasher. This episode was Squidward went to a whole different, like, he was time traveling. That episode, Karate Island, when they was on that island. And I said the last episode was Gary, when Gary was with that grandma and SpongeBob couldn't find him. Yeah, that episode too. Oh, and the gorilla episode. That gorilla episode, that was good.
Can't agree on what it even means. Some say it's a time travel episode gone wrong. Others think it's a metaphor for nihilism. And yeah, there's even a theory that Squidward dies midway through the episode. But what if none of those theories tell the whole story? Because the more I rewatched it, the more I realized something. This episode does make sense, you just have to know where to look. So I went back, watched every frame, and when I started lining up the details with some forgotten episodes and overlooked science, I found something no one was talking about. Because once you connect all the dots, it all makes sense. A theory that doesn't just explain the episode, it explains why Squidward is the way he is. We have to go all the way back. Not just to the future, but to where it all started. The episode opens up with Squidward getting interrupted from his morning clarinet routine. Because
Yo, that clarinet was always getting lodged down his throat.
So desperate for silence, Squidward
Yo, Squidward was the clarinet god.
Sneaks into
Rope
the
god for real.
and slams the door shut.
Wait, nah, cause Squidward is the original throat god, y'all. Think about it. He was taking all types of pieces of that clarinet down his throat. He was a throat god.
Well, he's not here. I'll bet that eager fever's already got a jellyfish meal.
And it's
That's how Squidward
girthy.
hasn't frozen for 2,000 years. But here's the weird part. Why hasn't anyone opened this freezer in 2 millennia? Has no one ever restocked anything at the Krusty Krab? And even if they don't, Squidward's face is literally frozen in the door's window. Someone must have noticed it. But no, Squidward wakes up in the year 4017. Bikini Bottom is changed, and everything's chrome. And the first creature he met is Sponge-Tron, a robotic SpongeBob with rocket legs and 486 other versions of himself. You see, that detail always felt weird to me. This future has kept SpongeBob for centuries. Like, he became something worth preserving. Squidward naturally panicked and asked to get back home right away. Spongetron points him towards a time machine at the end of the hallway because apparently time travel just exists now. Like next to the can opener room. Okay. And Squidward is still panicking, jumps in without hesitation. This is where the adventure begins. First, he tries to go to the past and overshoots. Ends up in prehistoric Bikini Bottom, where cavemen versions.
They was trying to eat him and shit. They was putting salt and pepper on him, if I'm not mistaken. First of all, how they even had that?
And they copied him. Just like that, jellyfishing is born. Is Squidward the founder of jellyfishing? Which is ironic, since we all know Squidward really hates jellyfishing in the future. This is a canon event, but unfortunately, prehistoric Patrick and Spongebob are not fans of his clarinet solo. They go feral and chase him down, and in the panic, Squidward breaks the time machine's lever and boom!
That's when he ended up with like the purgatory type place. And it was like different tile floors. It was all white.
The future, he's nowhere. A blank white void, no water, no sound except versions of his own voice bouncing back at him. He liked it at first because he could finally be alone. 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 But the longer he stays, the more his voice glitches. His words double up. His mind spirals. His isolation gets amplified, and the only thing he wants after all this time is to go home. After a few good stops, he finds the time machine again. He screams for the machine to listen, and it does. It takes him back. The machine listens without any lever or instructions, just because he asks. Which is strange, right? It just works. Like it knows it has to close the loop. And then we get one more final moment. Squidward steps out of the time machine, back to Cog Street, back to normal. Then comes
I didn't even know that was the address of their street, Conch Street.
Jellyfishing again, and this...
The magic conch!
Which is terrifying, because how do they know? Do prehistoric memories echo forward? Did they inherit it? Or has the loop already restarted and no one remembers the first version except him?
Cora, will you wait 1 second?
On the surface, SB-129 looks like just another goofy SpongeBob time travel episode. Squidward jumps too far into the future, too far into the past, gets stuck in a void, and then somehow comes back home. Simple enough. Except, it's not. Because once you actually line up what's happening, too many details don't add up, too many moments feel wrong. Like, something about this timeline broke and no one ever fixed it. So, I went deep. And what I found wasn't just an explanation. It might just be the real reason Squidward is the way he is. But to get there, we need to unpack this mystery piece by piece. So, we're breaking it into 3 parts. For the first part, we have to explain the paradox of 2 Squidwards. The first weird thing is Squidward gets frozen in the Krusty Krab for 2,000 years. Then, after his time-hopping meltdown, he returns to the present.
This is where I got confused at. Like, when he was talking about this, I was like, I don't know.
Present Squidward unfreeze himself from the freezer, or anything happened to him. Because unless the timeline erased itself...
Which the thing is, he didn't unfreeze himself. It was SpongeBob who did it. The future SpongeBob. I feel like that just means they left his ass in there for 2,000 years. They probably thought he just went missing. Then when they realized he was already in the freezer, they probably, once covered up like, oh. I don't know. Wait, now that I think about it. Because he's a squid, so just like how they just unfroze him now, they wouldn't have probably gotten arrested. They probably would have. But it wasn't their fault. Nobody told them to go in the freezer. I don't know, but I don't think...
It didn't. That frozen Squidward should still be there.
But the frozen Squidward is Squidward.
One who's been through a metaphysical journey across time and space, and one who's still just sitting in a freezer, completely unaware. That's a paradox. And this show almost never plays with that kind of timeline logic. which is part of why this episode always felt so.
But where would the other
It was
Squidward have
only
come
later
in?
in season 7 they brought up another time travel episode, Back to the Past. The episode where SpongeBob and Patrick go into early Bikini Bottom using a time travel machine from Mermaid Man's secret laboratory. This episode indicates that it is possible in Bikini Bottom to have two different timelines.
I used to hate the episodes with Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy on the low
It's also
sometimes.
possible for them to change the course of history because
I think the only episode that I really liked was the one when they got stuck in Man Ray's like his lair or something, and Patrick was like, "You dropped your wallet" or something. No, he was telling Patrick he dropped his wallet, and Patrick was like, "It's not mine."
the episode, they do change history. Patrick eats all the tartar sauce, which prevents Mermaid Man from ever capturing Man Ray, and Man Ray later dominates the whole world in the present day. This also means the first episode of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy from season 1 never happens, because Man Ray never gets frozen in the tartar sauce. This detail actually explains why Squidward never gets defroze in SB-129. You see, when future Squidward returns at the end of the episode, they do realize that there is another Squidward frozen in the Krusty Krab's freezer, even Squidward himself, but they intentionally never thought it, because doing that would break the timeline he accidentally created, one where jellyfishing exists. Yeah, we're going there. Jellyfishing exists because Squidward brought it to the past, even though he
Oh, okay, wait, cause I think I get what he's saying. Like, okay, if he got frozen, all right, and he went forward 2,000 years, the present him, like the where they technically were, like when he ran away from them, never got unfrozen. So yes, there is two Squidwards. Okay, I get it now, because I was like, but the future SpongeBob unfroze him, and that was that Squidward. But I get it now, because that's technically him traveling to like another like dimension, kind of like it was 2,000 years.
the future, which means, and yes, this is canon, Squidward invented jellyfishing. That's a bootstrap paradox, a time loop with no beginning. And that's the poetic horror of it. He tried to run from the things he hated most, only to realize he was the one who started them. So they let him freeze there for 2,000 years. Let his freeze stay intact, even if it means freezing a version of him in time forever. But that still doesn't explain the weirdest moment in the future. Because after 2,000 years, when Squidward wakes up, Spongetron looks at him and says,
I am Spongetron. Welcome to the future.
like he was expecting him. By now we've established two things. One, time travel is real in Bikini Bottom. And two, the timeline remembers. And if the future SpongeBob descendants know Squidward was coming, that raises a new question. Did they pass along the words to their descendants? And that brings us to the second part of the theory. Not about Squidward, but about the immortals who never left. Let's get scientific for a second. Sea sponges can live up to thousands of years in the deep ocean. One of the big reasons is that they're what scientists call clonal species, organisms that continually regenerate. Some parts die off, others grow back. It's not exactly immortality, but it's close. And it gets even better, or weirder in this case. They thrive in cold environments, grow slowly, and don't burn through energy fast, which is what the bottom of the sea is. It means SpongeBob didn't just survive 2,000 years in the sea, he evolved too. This theory is also backed up in episode Pressure. SpongeBob casually mentions he can reproduce by budding, which is not a joke. It's a real thing sponges do. But what about Patrick? Starfish like Patrick, they can regrow
their
limbs.
limbs.
And in some species, a whole new body. He also mentions this in episode Karate Star. This also explains why Patrick has two heads in the future. So by the time we get to the future in SB-129, those SpongeBob and Patrick...
I just thought about it. Wasn't there an episode where Patrick lost his head, though? Y'all remember that episode? I don't know why, but I feel like it's a connection to that. Some way, somehow.
They're clones. Versions of SpongeBob and Patrick who have been replicating themselves for thousands of years, possibly with the same consciousness, passed along each time. Which raises an even bigger question. If SpongeBob and Patrick can live forever, regenerating and reliving, are they even aware they're clones anymore? Have they passed along some kind of collective memory? Or are they just performing the loop because it's all they've ever known?
Performing the
Because
loop.
here's what that means for SB-129. Squidward wakes up after 2,000 years, dazed and confused, but Spongetron, he's calm, fully sentient, and when Squidward asks to go home, Spongetron doesn't even question it. Like, he's seen this before. Like, he's been expecting this moment. That event isn't random, because he was indeed expecting it. Because they've lived it over and over and over again. It could also explain why Patrick shows up in perfect timing.
Take 40%
Bruh,
off
these
classroom
ads,
decor
these
at
ads.
Hobby Lobby. Find exciting classroom themes.
Because he knows Squidward will be there. That's the actual timeline for this episode. But that still leaves one last mystery. We still need to explain the nowhere place. What actually happens in the time machine? Because if time and identity are already shifting around Squidward, then what actually happens when he breaks the machine? Where does he go? That's the last piece of this puzzle. This is the last section of our theory, and it will put the two previous theories together, and it will blow your minds, because it makes sense of everything. You see, after Squidward breaks the time machine, he doesn't land in a prehistoric jungle or some dystopian future. He lands in nothing. A blank, white space with no direction, time, or sound, except his own echo. And despite the soft colors, the minimalism, the quiet, this might be the darkest place in the entire series.
Yeah.
This void could be a purgatory, or worse...
Didn't I say that? What I called that?
And I'm not
Purgatory.
just throwing around spooky words here. The signs are all over this sequence. Start with the most obvious detail. There's no water. Not even background bubbles. Not even the sound of the ocean floor. Which is insane because SpongeBob almost never drops the underwater illusion. This is the only time the ocean rules are completely gone. The place is totally empty, matching how spiritual limbo is often described. The second evidence that I noticed,
Which
about
means
this
he's
was
dead.
how voices seem to haunt Squidward, especially at the alone monologue part. The void is repeating him, mocking him, or maybe it's not his voice at all anymore, just echoes of other souls. And then there's those floating color fragments, weird glitching shapes with no explanation. They're not errors. The
Wait.
shattered piece.
I feel like he about to say this is the real Squidward. I don't know why, but I feel like that's what he about to say. That's the first Squidward. And he's dead. He's in purgatory. Which is what he thought he wanted. Because remember, he wanted quiet time. Let's see.
Is a memory. Fragments of the Bikini Bottom timeline that broke when Squidward snapped the machine. This is what Limbo looks like in SpongeBob's universe. A place where deleted scenes, abandoned realities, and broken characters drift without meaning. This is where the loop ends. And you don't. But the true tragedy lies in the way Squidward gets there. Before he arrives in the void, the time machine doesn't just malfunction, it glitches out completely. Spinning wildly, folding in on itself, cycling through colors, and then it disappears in a burst of white light. You could interpret this as Squidward dying. There is no way Squidward...
That's what I was thinking.
...flattened to almost subatomic size and an explosion of white
I didn't even
energy.
think about that, though.
So, if we assume the time machine completely collapsed in on itself, what we're watching now isn't Squidward's body. It's Squidward's mind. Or maybe even his soul. And if Squidward just stayed in this realm, he would be placed in a state of suffering. Being out of the seawater would have probably suffocated him. And haunted by the voice of the lost souls in this case. Or Squiddy just wants to be free of SpongeBob, Patrick, jellyfishing, all of it. And he got it, technically. But in that moment, surrounded by nothing, he realizes the scariest truth of all. Without all those things, there's nothing left of him. And that's when it hits. He screams to no one. And the machine responds. But here's where it gets even stranger. The machine doesn't need a lever anymore. It doesn't need a destination. It just listens and obeys. Like it wasn't mechanical to begin with. Like it's a force, a cycle, a system designed to reset Squidward once he's broken. It brings him back to Conch Street. So let's put it all
which
together.
is why he
Squidward
said
didn't just stumble into the future. He created it. He jumped into a
it's his
machine meant to reset
consciousness.
time, and by doing so, he bootstrapped a future that only exists because he ran from the present. He's the accidental founder of jellyfishing,
It's called jellyfishing.
the silent spark that lit a 2,000-year cycle, and the only one who ever noticed it happen. SpongeBob and Patrick?
Zebo works 24/7.
Damn, what the fuck? Why he got all these ads on his video? Like, I want to fight this nigga now. Like,
They're not just eternal, they're clones of themselves, carrying on a loop that Squidward's actions started. A loop they've preserved, maintained, repeated, without ever questioning it. And when Squidward tries to escape the loop by breaking the machine, by stepping outside of time, he breaks himself instead. Because what he finds in that void isn't freedom, it's the absence of identity. You think this episode was about Squidward being annoyed? Nah, it's a story about identity collapse. About what happens when you reject the part you've been assigned, and find that nothing else is waiting for you. One Squidward is still frozen in the freezer, untouched, forgotten, and quietly holding the loop in place. Another just returned from oblivion, fractured, haunted, changed.
You don't know how happy I am to see you guys.
Both exist and are trapped in a cycle that never breaks. You can try to reboot your life, you can jump timelines, but eventually the loop will find you again. Because ironically, the world you hate was the only one you knew existed. So, if SpongeBob and Patrick are eternal, and Squidward is the only one who changes, then Squidward, the one who remembers, is the only one who ever suffers. Because he knows there's no escape. So yeah, SB 129 might be one of the most misunderstood.
I like this, y'all. I like this. This was a really great analyzation and explanation of this episode, because when I was younger, I never understood it. So I mean, we were all kids, right? But probably even as an adult, I probably wouldn't have even thought this. Like, I probably would have just been stuck on a kid mindset. But SpongeBob has a really lot of like undertones and messages. Some of them be dark, some of them, be positive, some of them just be flat outright negative. But it has a lot of like messages and stuff. So shout out to this creator. I'm gonna put the original video in the description down below. PMG, I'm out.